there's something going on now in America, up in the Kentucky area, and I'm going to talk about that. Up in the Kentucky area is drawing attention to America, is drawing attention to Kentucky. Right? The state of Kentucky is interesting. I'm going to say this. Y'all remember when I talked about the tabernacle, right? Okay. See, God never gets away from his patterns. You got to watch the movements of God. If you take a diagram of the tabernacle and lay it on the map of the United States, the first piece of furniture is the altar of sacrifice. Where that sits is in the Kentucky, Tennessee area right there. Watch this. It sits right there, right? That's the altar of sacrifice. Then right there you got that ridge of mountains. What is that ridge of mountains? What are they called? Y'all know what I'm talking about. Right there in Tennessee, Virginia. Yeah, that mountains run down there, right? That's the veil. And right there, where the brazen laver sits, you have the Mississippi River Valley, major waterway of the United States, right? The Mississippi River Valley, that's a major waterway that goes all the way from the south all the way through the country, right? That's the brazen laver. Then you got, if you keep moving from east to west with the tabernacle, you come up into the Midwest. That's the breadbasket, right? The grains of America, where we get that's called the breadbasket of America. That's what it's called, right? That's the table of showbread. Then you move south, you come into Oklahoma, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Texas, right? All that down here. That's known for what? Oil. That's the golden lampstand, right? Then you keep moving west, you hit the altar of incense. That's in the area of Colorado. This incense had a reddish color. What is Colorado known for? The red dirt, right? Okay. Then you got another ridge of mountains there, the Rocky Mountains, right? That's another veil before you go in. Then you move past the mountains, you moving west. Now we move to what? The Ark of the Covenant, right? That sits in the area of California. What is California called? The Gold Rush. Everywhere the furniture sits in the tabernacle, the United States sits there. So when you watch the patterns of God, God doesn't change a lot of what he's doing when he begins to do something. So right now we're hearing everybody talking about Kentucky, the revivals, whatever, something happening in Kentucky that's drawing everybody's attention, right? Well, if you go back, that's where the altar of sacrifice lays at. You notice how that move started up there. A guy got up and read some scripture about love or whatever, and it triggered, right? And then all you see repentance, people repenting, people asking God to forgive them, and people coming from all over, right? See, what people fail to realize, Kentucky, that area of Kentucky, right through Tennessee and all up there, Ohio, Indiana, it was known in 1800s for revivals. There were several revivals that started there. One of them started in 1800. It was called the Red River Revival. The Red River Revival shook that region and started and pioneered what was called the Second Great Awakening. And from there, that thing spread all through the United States. Watch this. There were colleges, there were major colleges, universities, mission centers and stuff were birthed out of that movement. Are you with me? Francis Asbury was in a part of that movement. Francis Asbury, it was a man named Francis Asbury. He was a part of that movement of the Red River Revival. Then there was another movement out there called the Cane Ridge Revival. Cane Ridge, Kentucky, Cane Ridge. That revival was birthed out of that one. And that was Barton Stone. Barton Stone pioneered that movement right there. And that thing was so big right there. That revival started and began to span all through America as well. That was the Cane Ridge revival. That was a major revival that hit in that area. Are you with me? Also, in those three men were a part of that major movement. There was another man named Peter Cartwright Jr. Then these guys all were born in 7. Peter Cartwright Jr. Now, see, the thing about Peter Cartwright opposed slavery. He was a Caucasian man, but he opposed slavery. And he was a preacher. They called him the backwoods preacher. They called him a backwoods preacher. He was a part of that movement. And in fact, he was a legislator in Illinois. And that was the guy that Abraham Lincoln defeated in the U.S. Congress when Abraham Lincoln was in Congress. Abraham Lincoln defeated Peter Cartwright to get a U.S. Congress seat. And the powerful thing was, but he opposed slavery. That's important. And the amazing thing was Peter Cartwright was a major figure in the Second Great Awakening. He started, watch this, he started preaching up in that area. And he ended up with a major movement up there. And that thing had over 20-something thousand people in that movement. And that was labeled one of the biggest movements or biggest revival things in America. And that movement there was so powerful. It had over 20-some thousand people, and it was so powerful because out of that sprung camp meetings all over America. That's where the concept camp meetings were sprung from. He sprung camp meetings up all over America, Peter Cartwright did. All three of these men were a part of that Red River revival. Francis Asbury, Peter Cartwright, and Barton Stone. These men were pioneers of that movement. All of that was in Kentucky that spread out to Ohio, Tennessee, Illinois. It sprung that whole region. So now what you see the Holy Ghost visiting that area again, because that area sits where the altar of sacrifice sits at. And see, God is sending a sign to people. See, we got to see these signs. That's a sign to America, it's time to repent. That's a sign that's telling America it's time to repent. Because at the altar of sacrifice, what do you see? Salvations and people repenting and giving their life, turning their lives, right? So that's what you see happening a lot in Asbury. That Asbury move up there is a lot of repentance, turning, people getting saved. And you notice it's springing out from there all through the country, just like it's moving to other colleges and universities and stuff. Because watch this, major colleges and universities were birthed out of the Red River Revival. So you see it going right through colleges and places, saying people starting to repent, and it's spreading, right? And see, what we're seeing is what's happening there now is at the altar of sacrifice, right? Then you notice from there, watch this. What activated this move? The word. The word and prayer. See, the guy got up and read about love. And then they couldn't stop after that. The Spirit came in and it kept going. So my whole point is, what you're seeing here at the altar of sacrifice, then you're going to watch this thing as it continues to move. You're going to see what we're seeing going to continue to happen at the what happened? At the altar of brazen laver, you're going to see now a lot of cleansing. And you're going to see three of these pieces of furniture tied together. You're going to see the altar of sacrifice, the brazen laver, and the table of showbread tied together in that movement. And that movement going to take us right on through Passover. And because, watch this, with the brazen laver and the table of showbread, both of those are connected to the word. See, God has to clean his people. God has to make his people repent. He has to clean us, watch this, before we can fellowship with him at the table of showbread. But both of those involve the word. That's why God is releasing a pure word right now for those who will tap into the Spirit. God is releasing a pure word now to bring cleansing and fellowship with his people. Because he's preparing his people for the next move of God that's going to because Pentecost this year, Pentecost is going to usher in another wave. See, Pentecost is going to usher us in another wave because watch this. What you're going to see, this thing going to shoot across these three pieces of furniture, and by the time we get later on in near Pentecost, what you're going to see, all of a sudden, you're going to see these moves shift to Texas. You're going to see these moves shift to the state of Texas. Watch this. And you're going to see the oil now. You're going to begin to see the oil. As this thing moves towards Pentecost, you're going to see a greater outpouring of God's Spirit. That's by the time we get to Pentecost, you're going to see this thing showing up in Texas in a great way. Because why? Oil. That's moving the oil. But when it hits the oil, you're going to see the next three pieces of furniture kick in. You're going to see the oil. You're going to see watch this, the altar of incense. What's that? You're going to see this outpouring in Texas with this oil is going to make a awakening or shift of prayer happen to God's people. Intercession and prayer are going to happen. Then that's what's going to usher us into the glory of God. And we as the body of Christ are going to begin to see the glory of God like we've never seen before. But he's first starting it right there in Kentucky where it started at in the 1800s to start the Second Great Awakening. He's starting it in the same place. Are y'all looking at